Good afternoon, Kadir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Noveshri, Harini, Kritika, Prakalya, Shivaditya, Samyukta. Good afternoon. Okay. Srividya, good afternoon. Who else? Meerahul. Welcome to the class, Meerahul. Who has to join? Adams. Yeah, good afternoon. Sai, good afternoon. Okay, almost all came, right? Tangavarma is here. Ashwin Tangavarma. Yeah, Tangavarma. Good afternoon. Okay. So I made few changes today. So I'm gonna use this wall. Okay. So that's what the entire setup has changed. It took little time adjusting and all. So if you find any disturbances, sounds and all, you let me know. Okay, Ra. We'll start. 1 more minute. We'll wait and we'll start. 12 members are there. Saran had to come. Saran, wake up. There he is. Okay. Kadir is there. Okay. Okay, guys. Last class we were discussing about ecosystem and its functions, right? So I thought, yeah, Ilamati, yeah, Ilamati is missing. Ilamati came. Who had to come? Girls, everyone is there. Did I forget anyone? No. Boys. Showing 11 members here. Everyone is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13. Yeah, Napoleon Rajavarman. Good afternoon, man. Come little early, okay? Saran is coming, huh? Okay. Okay, then we'll start up. So today we'll be discussing about one of the functions that we have discussed last class. Okay, so we'll have a quick recap of what last class we were discussing about, and then we'll go for the next part. Okay, so don't get confused. I will be shifting the tabs. Okay, I just wanted to use this form. Okay, don't get confused. I hope you guys can see me, right? I just wanted to take the class next level, so I wanted to use the projector. So let us see how far we can use this. Okay, I will be explaining. I will be trying to show a few animations or pictures and flowcharts directly here. And if you find it a little difficult to see and all, let me know in comment section so that we will see. Sharan came. Okay, we will see what can be done. So I will be moving here and there. Don't worry. I can't see anything. Okay, double picture of me. So okay, welcome to classes, Bharati Vidyalaya, right? So we are trying to sort out as yeah, you can, if you can see, you just let me know. So I'm just trying to figure it out that how far we can productively use this time and the data that we are spending in the online session. Okay, so let me quickly go through the yesterday's thing. Are you able to see, guys? Okay, are you able to see what I'm the PPT I've just shown? Right? Are you able to see? Yeah, okay, fine. So this is what yesterday we were discussing about, right? If you remember, last class we were discussing about functions, right? We were discussing about functions, right? So functions, we have different functions in the ecosystem. That is productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycles, right? So yesterday we were already discussed. We already discussed about productivity, right? That is how far when we go to the productivity, right? We have GPP, right? We have GPP and NPP, right? It means like in productivity, we came to understand about the primary productivity, right? And the factors which it depends upon, that is plant species, photosynthetic capacity, and availability of nutrients, right? So this is what primary productivity would be depending upon, and the primary productivity is mostly given by the producers, right? So that's what if you see, the productivity, ecosystems which has more productivity and which has less productivity also, we talked this last class. And this productivity is measured in gross primary productivity and net primary productivity, and the NPP is depending upon the GPP, right? And we know that the GPP NPP is derived from the GPP as GPP minus R. R is nothing but the respiratory energy loss to which this GPP is produced. That is what NPP, right? And the net amount which is left as an NPP by the producers, where these consumers, nothing but heterotrophs, will be feeding upon this NPP, and then they produce a new organic matter, right? That is, we call it a secondary productivity. and that secondary productivity again depends upon the four factors, right? So is it are you able to are you able to follow, guys? Are you able to follow? I just want to make sure. Are you able to follow, guys? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Right. So that's about the. So any no doubts in the last class, right? Yeah. So last class is something which we talk about productivity, and the secondary productivity is based upon the growth and product reproduction, respiration, food consumption, and waste. Waste in the form of feces. So these are all, the secondary productivity of an ecosystem is dependent upon these factors. So this is one of the functions of the ecosystem, right? And now let's go to the other function, that is what we call it as decomposition. What is it? Decomposition. So if you see this, all I kept in, so if you see here, out of functions of ecosystem, we are trying to understand the productivity. We already understood the productivity, and then we are talking about decomposition. So within the decomposition, there are other two factors we will be talking about. Okay, two other functions. And meanwhile, meanwhile we will be even talking about the energy pyramids. Okay. Before that, let's complete this decomposition. Okay. So in the decomposition, there are different processes occur or involved in this process of decomposition. Okay. So what exactly the decomposition means? Can anyone tell what exactly the decomposition means? Decomposition. What is decomposition? Any examples that you know, that you came across so far? So once you give the answer, I can go into the class aspects. Yeah, action of microorganisms on dead or decaying matter. Very good. Decomposition of waste to form manures. Okay. Atoms. Decomposition is process by which organic substances are broken down into simpler organic atoms. Very good. Yeah. Any other people? Any other guys? I'm actually watching me in live as well. I just wanted to make sure everything is clear. Okay. Any other guys, man? Please do respond. Others. The state or process of rotting or decaying. Okay. Yeah. By now you might have got an idea of decomposition, what exactly the decomposition means, and decomposition right from the childhood or the lower classes, you would have got some idea about it. You would have heard about some organisms which actually functions as decomposers, and especially if you take an example of earthworm, right? And if you take an earthworm as an example, right? Earthworm can be referred as farmer's friend. What does it mean actually? Farmer's friend. Farmer's friend. Friend of a farmer. Earthworm is friend of a farmer. Why we are discussing earthworm here? Why? Because it acts as an decomposer, which decomposes, complex organic matter, as well as it loosens the soil. It loosens the soil because it is, it lives in the soil, right? So it actually loosens up the soil, as well as it decomposes the complex organic matter. So as Adams and other students already, other friends already told what is decomposition. It is nothing but process of breaking down of complex molecules or complex matter into simpler forms, simpler inorganic matter. So if you see, for example, water, carbon dioxide, and nutrients. So these complex organic molecules or matter would be decomposed or broken down, right? So decomposes, break down complex matter into inorganic substances like water, carbon dioxide, and nutrients. Is that clear so far? So that is a simple definition of decomposers. Yeah, we have decomposers like bacteria, fungi also. Yeah, microorganisms feed on dead and decaying matter. Yes, Samyukta. Elamati, you're right only. I don't know why you deleted the message. So background is not clear. Or is it? Okay. Mm, can't see the video properly. Okay. So it's giving too much of light, I guess. Mm, just reduce the projected brightness. Okay, let me check that. Now you guys are able to see. Is it clear now? Now is it clear? Improved, but it's not that clear. Okay, we'll just continue. Okay. Fine then. We'll try if we can really go ahead with this, video. That's okay. Okay. Now you can see that. I just wanted to show some examples and pictures, but it's not that clear. Maybe the other problem is that the webcam clarity is the one more problem. Actually. Okay. Okay, let's continue without breaking anything. Oh, um, okay, so if you see here, we have examples of what are the materials that actually decomposition may happen, right? So, for example, roots, dead animals, fecal matter, leaves, branches, flowers, etc. Right? So, these are the decomposing matters. So, in this, what we're going to learn is we will be learning about different processes. Okay, made a small presentation here. So if you see here, I think PPT is much better. PPT is clear, right? Yeah. So in this decomposition, we'll be talking about fragmentation, leaching process, catabolism, humification, and mineralization. Okay, what are all these things and how these things occurs is what we're gonna discuss about. Okay. So next time, what I will do is without the involvement of video, I'll try to put the pictures in the PowerPoint itself, and I will make use of PowerPoint in this way. I think PowerPoint is looking much better, right? Yeah, yeah. So we can go ahead with the PowerPoint itself. Okay. Yeah, fine. So what I'll do is so this is the flowchart I gave, and I will be posting in the group as well. So within the decomposition, we'll be talking about the processes. And when we first talk about the decomposition, decomposition is nothing but breakdown of complex organic molecules into simple. The depth of the decomposition function one of the function of the ecosystems, right? Dead plant remains that such as leaves, bark, flowers, right? These are all the dead remains, right? They and even then even fecal matter, right? These are all constitute or they all collectively called as detritus. So the organisms, right, which actually feed on this detritus they are nothing but detrivorous. Detrivorous or detritus, like debris, like they are all fecal matter and remains of animals and dead plants, dead bark, leaves, etc. Right? They are on this organic matter. There are organisms like earthworm, right? They feed on this detritus. So these all material, right? This organic material will be called as detritus, and this detritus, the organisms which feed on this detritus to make it simpler forms, right? They are called as detrivorous. Detrivorous examples are nothing but earthworm is one of the example, right? Which one? Annelid, and it break down detritus into smaller particles. Is it clear? So this detritus is nothing but this complex organic matter like fecal matter, like dead leaves and bark, etc. Right? And flowers, dead remains of animals. Right? These are all collectively called as detritus, organic matter. And the organisms which feed on this detritus are called as detrivorous organisms. And for example, earthworm, and then which break down these detritus into much simpler particles, right? And this process is called fragmentation. So first we are talking about fragmentation. So fragmentation is a process of breaking down of detritus into much simpler particles, right? Is that clear? Fragmentation is clear. Fragmentation is clear. Yeah. So okay. So next one is the process of leaching, right? So we are discussing about all the different types of processes that are involved in decomposition. What are the different types of processes? And first one, what we discussed about the fragmentation, and then coming to the leaching, right? By the process of leaching, if you see there's leaching, right, where water soluble inorganic matter or nutrients go down into the soil horizon and gets precipitated as unavailable salts. So if you see the leaching, you would have heard this leaching process many times in chemistry or some other context. So leaching is nothing but water soluble inorganic molecules or nutrients which go down into the soil origin. So they will be leached out. They will be settled into the soil origin, right? Horizon, right? They will be leaching into the soil horizon, and they get precipitated. Precipitation, formation of precipitation. Leaching is something like a chemical process, actually. So if you see this if you see this 5 processes, right? We have different processes, either biological process or chemical process or metabolic processes, right? They undergo different processes. If you see the fragmentation, in which detrivorous organisms are involved, but when you see the leaching is a simple chemical process in which water soluble inorganic nutrients will be settling down, settling down into the soil components, right? And they will be precipitated as unavailable salts. So this is the leaching process. So here what exactly happening is they are acting upon water soluble inorganic nutrients. So we are talking about water soluble inorganic nutrients. So once we get the water soluble inorganic nutrients, what is the fate of the inorganic nutrients? By the process of leaching, they form unavailable salts. So they will be in the soil horizon, right? And they will be leached out by the water. So that's what water soluble. Is it clear? So one by one we will be explaining, right? So I'll be switching off this. I'll try directly engage in the class without any distraction. Next time I will try to look into the. Okay, clear. Okay, fine. Okay, sorry for all these adjustments. I'm trying to do something better than before. So these many adjustments I have to do. Okay, so leaching is a process in which it's a kind of chemical process, right? So in which by the action of water, right, these inorganic nutrients are settling down as unavailable salts in the soil horizon, right? So that is about the leaching process. If you see the images of this, I will try to show tomorrow how come this water soluble inorganic nutrients, right? Actually, leaching is nothing but draining. Actually, they are drained into the soil. So, for example, uh, nice upgrade, sir. It is also Albus. Yeah, thank you. I'll try better. I was trying for almost half an hour or 1 hour to get that things ready, but somehow there was some glitch. Let us focus on this. We'll try to finish this. So, if there are inorganic matter over here, which are water soluble, right? Which are water soluble, right? They drain into the soil. So if it is if it is the top layer of the soil, if they are if the water molecules if the inorganic molecules are there like this, they will be drained along with the, if this is a water, right? If this is a water, and they will be drained along with the water, these inorganic molecules, nutrients, into the soil. So leaching is nothing but just a simple draining process, and they form unavailable salts, right? That is about leaching. And coming to the next process called catabolism. So catabolism. So catabolism, if you remember, what do you mean by catabolism? Can anyone tell what do you mean by catabolism? Catabolism. Catabolism is a metabolic process, right? So in which there are some enzymatic actions would takes place, right? Enzymatic reactions. So in this catabolism, what happens is, we are talking about decomposition, right? So which organisms will be involved? Mostly of bacterial or fungal enzymes would degrade this detritus, right? So that now we know what is detritus, right? What are the detritus matter, right? The dead leaves, bark, at the same time remains of animals, including fecal matter also, and flowers. So these are all detritus. So this bacterial and fungal enzymes would act on them, right? This bacterial or fungal enzymes would degrade this detritus into simpler inorganic substances. Again, now in the catabolic process, yeah, exactly, destructive metabolism, catabolism, yeah, kind of. So they breaking process is catabolism, catalysis, right? Catabolism. Anabolism is opposite. So here the enzymes which are getting from the bacteria and fungi, right? They are degrading this detritus into much simpler inorganic molecules, and this process is called catabolism. Yeah, exactly. So far, right? So far we were discussing about three processes, right? Within the decomposition, one is fragmentation. Micro detrivorous organisms like earthworm involved in the breakdown of this complex small inorganic molecule into simpler molecules. And then leaching process, second one. Leaching process, like a chemical process, is a draining down of water soluble nutrients into the soil in the unavailable salt form. And then finally, and the third one what we were discussing about is a catabolism in the decomposition. So catabolism is a process in the decomposition where bacterial or fungal enzymes are acting upon this detritus to break down into simpler inorganic forms. So this lesson is very easy actually. You don't need to spend much time also, right? But very important when it comes to section D questions, case-based studies, right? So you should be paying much attention while revising. That's why I'm giving flowcharts as well, right? In future it will be very useful. So so the third process what we were dealing is catabolism. So catabolism, these enzymes would degrade these organic molecules into much simpler forms. So that is about catabolism, right? And coming to the next one, right, that is what we're going to discuss is humification. So formation of humus or humification, what does it actually means? If you see the humification, so we'll see what exactly the humification and right. So when it comes to humification and mineralization, right? So these two things. So first we talked about the three things, right? Fragmentation, leaching, and catabolism, right? These are something which occurs above the ground level, the soil level, and this humification, mineralization, which occurs within the soil, right? That's the one of the difference, right? So we have to note, we have to very much, we should be very much clear that the above three steps, right, operate, they operate in a different level when it comes to this humification and mineralization, which means humification and mineralization occur during decomposition in the soil. So this humification and soil humification and mineralization which occurs within the soil, right? So during decomposition within the soil, these two processes would be occurring. So if you see, the one more aspect we need to understand is the above three processes. For example, what are those the three processes? First one we discussed about fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, right? These all three simultaneously acts on the detritus. It's not that one follows the others. So in one way leaching occurs. In one way, what happens is, in one way fragmentation occurs, right? In one way catabolism occurs. So see, these three things would act upon the detritus at in one shot itself, right? So simultaneously these three processes would be taken care. So the remaining two processes would occur in the soil during decomposition. Is that clear? Is that clear, guys? Are you guys are there? Please respond. Okay. May Rahul, are you there? Are you left in between? Ashwin, May Rahul. Yeah. Rangavarma, are you there, ma? Rangavarma? Ah, yes, Rangavarma is there. Good. Rahul went. Guys, please make sure that everyone attends the class. Okay, it's not a joke to have this kind of a session, right? So you please, everyone should attend. At the end, these are all ecology is when you don't revise or when you don't understand things, it will be very much headache for you guys. 12th you're gonna write board exam, so please be careful when you're attending these lessons, right? So we are starting new lesson, so you have to pay attention, and later on it will not be no one can help you, because once the syllabus is getting over, we will start about the revision, we will start the revisions. So please take care about this. Please be regular in the class. It's still 3 members are not there. That's what I'm worrying about. Okay, in between I can't make a calls and I can't follow up. This is not, it's not gonna work. Okay, fine. Let's move on. May Rahul, are you there? Okay, so let's go to the next one. So before we are discussing about what are the important aspects that we need to keep in mind, that is these three processes, nothing but the leaching process and fragmentation and catabolism, these three processes would occur simultaneously on the detritus, and the other two processes occurs in the soil, right? And humification, right? If you see the humification, in the process of humification, what happens is dark colored amorphous substance called humus, right? That would be formed. So that is what in during the humification, which is one of the process within the decomposition, where humus would be formed, and this humus characteristics, if you see, it is dark colored amorphous substance. Okay, and if you see this humus, right? Humus has important properties. The properties, two important properties it has. One is the humus is extremely resistant to microbial action. It means it cannot really degrade anyone, because it is showing extremely resistant, showing resistance to the microbial actions, and at the same time it is having very slow rate of decomposition. So when we talk about humus, which is formed during this humification, is one of the decomposition process of decomposition. During this humification, what actually accumulates is a dark amorphous substance called humus, and humus has got this following properties like, it has very slow rate of decomposition. At the same time, it extremely resistant to the microbial action, and it is colloidal in nature. At the same time, it is rich. It's a rich source of nutrients. You know what is colloidal substances, right? So it is colloidal in nature. At the same time, a rich source of nutrients. So that's what I'm saying. So this entire humification is undergoing in the soil, right? And this humus, which is a dark amorphous substance, has these following properties, right? So it is rich in nutrients as well. So that is about what do you say, humification, right? And as a chemical property, colloidal in nature, right? So being colloidal in nature, it serves as a reservoir for the nutrients. So when you see the humus, so when you dig this soil, right? So you can see at the nearby ecosystems, right? Maybe if you visited any pond ecosystem or lake ecosystem, if you would have forest ecosystem, you would have visited, you would have seen this kind of a soil. So that soil, if you just feel it, right? If you dig down, you will see that its color and texture is very much different when the humus is there, and because it has a colloidal nature, right? It serves as a reservoir for the nutrients. That is what the properties of the humus, right? And what happens is this humus is further degraded by some microbes and which will be releasing inorganic nutrients, right? So we already seen that it takes a lot of time for the degradation or decomposition, especially this humus, because it is resistant to microbial activity, right? At the same time, the rate of decomposition is also very low. But in the due course of time, what happens is this humus will be degraded or decomposed by the action of microorganisms, right? By the action of microorganisms, right? And they will be converted, or they will be releasing inorganic nutrients, and that process is called mineralization. So that is the last process in the decomposition, that is mineralization. So this is minerals, right? Mineralization is a process which occurs inside the soil. So you can imagine there are plants over there and they're dead, right? They form detritus, and this detritus, or by three process, they were decomposed, leaching, catabolism, at the same time fragmentation at simultaneously, and then the other and finally what happens is this detritus is actually forming the humus, dark amorphous colloidal substance humus, which has different properties, and it has a low rate of decomposition, and by the action of microorganisms, again this humus is releasing inorganic or molecules or inorganic for that matter, inorganic matter into the soil, and this process is called mineralization. So humification and mineralization occurs within the soil. Is that clear? So why this process now? If you can relate, right? Once this minerals and the other nutrients are formed, right, after the last decomposition, mineralization and humification, again these can be recycled by further usage, right? So these inorganic molecules can be utilized by the plants. So that's what makes this soil more rich in the nutrients, right? Is that clear? Humification, mineralization, clear, guys? Okay. Yeah. So far what we discussed is the 5 processes, right? If you can recollect it, right? We are going a little slow, okay, guys? Don't worry about this. So because we can once this important topics were discussed, these are all very new topics for you guys. So I just wanted to make things very clear, right? Next class I will show some pictures within the PowerPoint itself. I will make sure that it would be very clear. I already covered with many things, not too light to enter. Anyways, the 5 processes that occurs in the decomposition, that is fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, right? Humification and mineralization, right? So this 5 process we discussed, and out of 5, 3 processes occurs simultaneously and 2 processes occurs in the soil. And finally, out of these 2 processes, mineralization and humification, the last inorganic molecules which are formed, right? Again, they will be entering into the, supporting the life. For that matter, they supply the nutrient for the growth of the plant. So these are the processes, right? And now this decomposition is dependent upon few factors actually, okay? And if you see, this decomposition is of largely of oxygen requiring process. For that matter, why oxygen is more required is because microorganisms or other small organisms, detrivorous organisms, to really break down this small organic molecules into simpler molecules, they need a lot of oxygen, right? So that's what the decomposition is largely of oxygen requiring process. And the rate, whenever we tell about whenever we talk about the rate, we are talking in the terms of time, right? So the rate of decomposition is actually, right, it is controlled, or it is under the aegis or under the control of few factors. For that matter, chemical composition of detritus, right? So the rate at which the decomposition can occur is depending upon the following factors. Now the second phase of this thing, we are discussing about the rate at which, right, the decomposition is occurring. So first one, we talked about what do you say, about the decomposition and its different 5 different processes that occurs in uh, decomposition. That is the first half of the session, and the second half is that what we're gonna discuss is factors affecting, right, affecting decomposition. That's it. Now we are talking about the factors affecting decomposition. So what are the factors affecting the decomposition are nothing but chemical composition of detritus. So now we know what is detritus, right? So its chemical composition is very important, right? At the same time, temperature, so to which this entire decomposition is taking place, right? If you right, at the same time, soil moisture. So soil will have some kind of a moisture, right? So that soil moisture is also very much important for the rate of the decomposition. When it comes to chemical composition, what actually slow downs this process? Okay, which type of the composition? For that matter, what we are talking is chemical composition of detritus. Detritus are nothing but the dead and decaying, at the same time fecal matter, bark, uh, other dead organisms, right? So what makes this rate slow or high, that what we're gonna discuss. And the first one is chemical composition. If you see the chemical composition of lignified woods, we in the 11th standard we already talked about the plant tissues lignified, lignified cells will be there, and the lignin is what one of the chemical that is present in the this type of the wood, right? The lignified wood and yeast cell walls, right, which lowers the or slow downs the rate of decomposition. So first one we are talking about chemical composition. So highly lignified secondary walls, at the same time yeast cells, eukaryotic single cellular eukaryotic cells, yeast cells, right? They have in their cell walls chitin, right? Or they you can pronounce as chitin or chitin. So that's chitin or lignin, which slow downs the process of the decomposition, and which fastens the rate of the decomposition is nothing but nitrogen and sugar. So if you see this, within the organisms, they will be having the carbohydrate sugar source as well as the nitrogenous compounds, which presence of these would fasten up the process of decomposition. So the rate of decomposition is depending upon the chemical composition of the detritus, lignified cell walls and lignified tissues. At the same time, the chitinous cell walls in the yeast would slow downs the rate of decomposition, and the nitrogen and the uh, carbohydrates like sugars would fastens the rate of decomposition. So that is about the first thing, right? Rate of chemical composition of the you know chemical composition of detritus, and then the next two things, that is temperature and soil moisture. They are very much important. Right? Is the first thing is clear, guys? First thing, and we'll wind up very soon. Nothing to worry. Is the first thing is clear? First factor, we have three factors: chemical process, chemical composition, temperature, and soil moisture. Right? Okay. So when comes to temperature and soil, right? Uh, when it comes to temperature and soil, right? The moist and the warm, right? What are the conditions that it supports, right? These two factors, how do they affect the rate of decomposition? So when you see this temperature and the soil moisture, they are very much important climatic factors, right? So based upon the climate, right, they change, they vary, right? And they even regulate the decomposition, right, by affecting the soil microbes, right? So how they are affecting? If the temperature and soil moisture is not adequate, they affect the rate of decomposition through the soil microbes. And when it comes to this temperature and soil moisture, warm and moist environments, right? Warm, right? Warm and moist. If the soil has more moisture, and at the same time it is warm, right? Inadequate warmness is there, then they actually support the decomposition. So they support the rate of decomposition. And the opposite is, they lowers the decomposition. If it is very cool outside, if the temperature is not adequate or not warm, or the soil moisture is very less, what happens is the rate of decomposition would be gradually coming down. So this warm and moist environment would actually favors the decompositions, right? So right, is that clear? Yeah. So the other thing, for example, if the temperature is less, very less, or low temperatures and less moist condition, right, would actually lowers the lowers the rate of decomposition. And how do they lower? Actually, they this anaerobic bacteria would be grown, right? Due to this anaerobic conditions, they don't allow this decomposition to occur. Okay, that's how this low temperatures and less moist conditions, right, would would encourage the anaerobiosis that is given in your NCRT, that is anaerobiosis, in which they favor this anaerobic activity, which lowers or which slow downs the rate of decomposition. Is that clear? That is about decomposition, and tomorrow we'll be talking about energy flow. Is that clear, guys? Yeah. So far what we discussed is decomposition as a process, one of the function of the ecosystem, along with the productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycles. So first one we already completed last class, that is productivity, and now we are completed the decomposition. Within the decomposition we have 5 processes. Out of 5, 3 processes occurs simultaneously, 2 processes occurs in the soil, right? And once the mineralization occurs on the detritus, right, they again used up by the organisms. And what are the factors does this decomposition getting affected? One is the chemical composition, uh, you know chemical composition, and the other one is temperature and the soil moisture, right? Chemical composition, for that matter, the lignified wood, or at the same time, what is a chitinous fungi, right? They slow down the process of the decomposition. When it comes to nitrogen and the sugars, they increase the rate of decomposition. Like that, warm temperature and the high moist soils would increase the rate of decomposition, and the opposite is low temperature and less moist condition would encourage anaerobiosis, and they lowers the rate of decomposition. So this is it for today class, guys. And if you have any doubts, please ask me once go through these topics. And I hope you all of you understood this class. And tomorrow, I mean the next class, we will be discussing about the other 2 functions, and we'll try to finish it. At the same time, we'll try to take up energy pyramids, and we'll try to solve some numericals, means problems. Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a great weekend. And stay at home and stay safe. Thank you. Hope you guys understood. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys for your interaction and response. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Have a good Sunday to you, ma'am. Okay, guys, I'm ending the session. Take care. See you in the next class.